Hello and welcome to IT Manager Quick Tips. I'm Mike Sisco and today's program is number 7, Managing Remote Employees. There are 2 key things for success. Alright, at the end of the program there's a free download, Managing Remote Employees. Stay tuned for that and I'll give you a link to download this reference sheet that'll cover what we're going to discuss in this program. First, I need to make an assumption. Let's assume that you're in a corporate network and you've got remote employees. A lot of them are working from home. Maybe you got 1 or 2 or more working from a Wi-Fi hotspot in a cafe or something. Well, the assumption is that you have security in place. You have security set up for your network, the business applications that they're accessing to do their job, and the connectivity and all that. So you've got security in place. In other words, the technical part is in place. So we don't have to worry about that. Our focus in this program is the process of managing remote employees effectively. To do that, you need 2 key things. You need a good, solid communications environment, and you need a process to manage remote workers. Also, we need to understand the challenges of working remotely, and there are a few, as you might imagine. Well, one of the best resources to discuss this is from buffer.com. They do an annual report and they call it the State of Remote Work Report, and they do a survey, and in that survey they have a question: what's your biggest struggle with working remotely? And they ask well over 1,000 remote workers this information every year, and here's what they find. In 2019, they found that 22% of them answered unplugging after work is my biggest struggle in working remotely. 19% said loneliness was the biggest struggle. 17% said collaborating and communicating. 10% distractions at home. 8% being in different time zones than my teammates. 8% staying motivated. 7% being able to take my vacation. 4% other, and 3% finding reliable Wi-Fi. Well, if you look at this list, only one of these items is really technical in nature, and that's the last one, finding reliable Wi-Fi. That's the only part that has any technology related to these answers. In 2020, the answers were a little bit different, but they're pretty closely the same. 18% said unplugging after work. Loneliness went up to 20%. Same thing with collaborating, communicating, went up to 20% from 17%. Distractions at home went up to 12%. Being in different time zone than teammates went up to 10%. Staying motivated stayed the same. Taking vacation dropped to 5%. Other went up slightly to 5%. And finding reliable Wi-Fi stayed the same at 3%. So you see, in general, they stayed about the same. Well, here's the interesting thing. If you look at the top 4, they make up about 70% of the respondents' answers when they answer what's their biggest struggle with working remotely. They make up 70%. That's significant. All right, so we want to remember these 4 things: unplugging after work, loneliness, collaborating and communicating, distractions at home. These make up 70% of the respondents' answers. Like I said, we're going to come back to this and talk a little bit more about these challenges. All right, we need 2 key things to manage remote workers effectively. We need a communications environment that's stable and reliable, and we need a process to manage remote workers. First thing is we need a communications environment. So let's say we've got a manager here and he's got 6 remote employees. Let's say they're all working at home. Well, we've got to have a functional communications environment for this manager to be able to meet with his employees. You got to be able to have an environment so you can meet with your employees. You got to have face-to-face online meetings. That's critical. Well, I use Zoom, and the reason I use Zoom is because it's very stable, it's very high quality, it's very easy to use, and it's inexpensive. I pay $149 a year for a pro account. That allows me to be the host, and I can host up to 100 employees or people in any given session, and no limit in terms of the time that I can hold a meeting. I can hold a meeting all day and have done so many times. So I use Zoom. With Zoom, or with an application to be able to conduct an online meeting, you need a couple of hardware items. You need a quality microphone. I use an Audio-Technica AT2020 USB. I got this at Amazon. It cost me less than $150. It's a very high quality microphone. It does a really good job. Now when I'm on the road, I carry with me in my briefcase a small microphone called a Samson Go mic. It's also a USB connection. Cost me less than $40. It does a really good job, very high quality. In a lot of cases, your laptop, if you have a newer laptop, the microphone that comes with that laptop is probably sufficient. So I would check that out before I would go invest in anything. But if you need a high quality microphone, one of these two will do the job. And be sure that when you invest in a microphone, you get a USB connection. That makes the simplest connection and also high quality. The second thing you need is you need a good quality webcam. I recommend that you get one that has high definition capability, or HD. I use and have used for a long time a Logitech HD Pro C920. It costs less than $80. I think I paid $69. This webcam has been pretty much the industry standard for many years. It does a really good job with video. So that's what we need. We need good quality audio and we need good quality video if we're going to conduct an effective online meeting. Well, there are key features that you need in your online meeting application. Again, I use Zoom. You need scheduling capability. You need share screen, both so you, the host, can share, but also your participants can share their screen. You need recording capability. You need messaging. You need whiteboard. Now I've asterisked these two items because they're not required, but they might be desirable. So you might want messaging and whiteboard. You need video and audio control, where you as the host can turn someone's video or someone's audio off if they've got some interference coming in or what have you. So you can be able to control that as the host. And you need software that supports multiple devices, including desktop, laptop, tablet, and phones. The key online meeting ingredients, like I said, are you got to have a stable and reliable online meeting application. That's why I use Zoom. You got to have quality audio. Good audio is critical. In fact, good quality audio is the most important thing for an effective online meeting. Audio is key. And you need quality video. And high definition or HD capability is very affordable today. All right, well, the functional communications environment is the first step, like I just talked about. Step 2 is to create a process to manage remote workers. Now, when you're thinking about a process to manage remote employees, there are 5 key to-dos in doing this. Number 1, hold daily online staff meetings. Number 2, create clear objectives. Number 3, use to-do lists. Number 4, hold people accountable. And 5th, include non-business time. Let's talk about each one of these just a bit. Number 1 was hold daily online staff meetings. It's critical. You want to hold a daily meeting with your staff. You need to create those in a consistent schedule or a time when you do that. Use that to review daily work status and where we are. I like morning kickstarts or kickoffs, and I've done this many times in several different groups. I like first thing in the morning we have a 30-minute to a 1-hour meeting to kickstart the day. You can use this to reconfirm the weekly objectives people have and what people are working on and where we are with those projects. You can also use it to update task focus and assignments for people. And what you want to do in these meetings, you want to include a little bit of personal time or downtime, non-business time, because remember, one of the things was loneliness or feeling disconnected. That's one of the challenges. This personal time, even 2 or 3 minutes of doing something that's personal, asking people how they're doing, so forth, can make a difference. Step number 1 is we want to hold daily online staff meetings. That's going to be critical to managing a remote team effectively. And I keep them to 1 hour or less. Number 2, create clear objectives. You need to have clear objectives for the entire IT organization if you're the CIO. Multiple teams, each team needs to have clear objectives, and each employee needs to have clear objectives. You want those objectives to be aggressive but realistic and achievable. You want them to be measurable as much as that you possibly can, because being able to measure them is going to help you understand, are you achieving the results that you're expecting. Document them, and this becomes your deliverables foundation. So holding the daily meetings is key, and creating these clear objectives is also key to establish your deliverables foundation of what you're trying to achieve with this team. Use to-do lists. To-do lists, I like to use monthly and weekly to-do lists. Mostly I create monthly to say this is what I want to accomplish in the month, and then I have weekly. Every weekend I sit down and I map out, here's the things that I need to accomplish this week to achieve my long-term goal of monthly goals or even annual goals. So I establish weekly lists. Some people like to do daily lists. I use the daily meetings to be able to go through those kinds of things, but I tend to focus on weekly objectives. You might also want to consider a task management application. Now, the one that I would recommend, and I highly recommend it, is called Priority Matrix from Appfluence. Appfluence is the company that created Priority Matrix, and it is a world-class, truly wonderful workflow task management system. It's highly flexible. You can use it pretty much any way that you want to, from career planning to project management and so on. I highly recommend you take a look at that. Number 4 is you want to hold people accountable. Focus on results, not activity. Now, when people start managing employees remotely, they tend to get concerned that the employees are not really focused and not working. They're goofing off, or they're not really staying busy and so forth. So they might even want to implement a monitoring system where it lets them know what they were doing on their laptop all day and so forth. I discourage that significantly. Don't worry about the activity. Focus on the results. If you establish good quality objectives and document those, and you manage to the results are what count. You don't really care when or how people do the work. What you care is that they get the results that you're expecting. So don't focus on the activity. That's pretty much a waste of time. And in reality, studies have shown that remote workers tend not to goof off as much as you might think they do. If anything, they tend to work more than they should in some cases. All right, clear objectives are the key to all of this, being able to establish what results that you want and being able to see if those results are being achieved. To-do lists document the expectations and help you manage what's getting done. Status meetings actually drive the results. So those daily status meetings that you have with your staff, that's what's driving the results. You manage that with to-do lists, and the clear objectives are what establish the foundation for what you want to get accomplished. Number 5, include non-business time. You want to create some water cooler time. When you're physically at work, people meet at the water cooler in the break room. They have a little bit of time to socialize. That's important. Be concerned about your staff, and when they're working at home, they don't have as much of an ability to do that or communicate or socialize with their fellow workers. It's important they be able to do that. So you want to create some water cooler time in your daily status meetings. Understand, people need social time. Even if you're an introvert or shy like I am, and most IT people are, they still need some level of social time. So find time to have some fun as well. And you, the manager, are the one that needs to establish that, because if you don't, they're probably not going to take time or take the opportunity to do that. All right, we talked about 2 key requirements to manage remote employees. Got to have a good communications environment, and you got to have a remote worker process. Those two things are the keys to being able to manage remote workers effectively. All right, back to the State of Remote Work Survey report. I told you we would come back to that. Let's revisit the key challenges and think about what we can do to address these key challenges. Unplugging after work, loneliness, collaborating, communicating, distractions at home. Remember, 70% of the respondents that take these surveys every year say these are the biggest challenges in working remotely. All right, number one, unplugging after work. In 2019, that was at 22% of those who surveyed. In 2020, it dropped to 18%. So it's about 20%. Well, coach your employees about regular hours and keeping regular hours. Coach them about getting into a normal work routine so that they get up in the morning and get started and so forth. And having this kickoff meeting at a certain time, that can help with that. Now, if you got people in a lot of different time zones, you need to establish a time frame that works for all employees and not just one group of employees. And maybe you move that around from week to week. Review the assignments to make sure you're not overloading people so that they do have an opportunity to unplug after work, so on. Loneliness was number two. That also runs about 20%, as you see in these numbers above. Make regular contact with your employees. You got to stay connected with them. Hold lots of one-on-one meetings with them. Ask your employees, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? Do you need anything? Do you have the resources that you need to be able to do your job and so forth? Give me a call if you need some help. And then you might even consider sending a pick-me-up package to your employees from time to time. I've even done this where I send out something for them to open up at the meeting, and we all share some things and have some fun with that. So pick-me-up packages can be very important in being able to create some non-business downtime and some social time. Include some personal time in your meetings, like I've said a couple times. All right, collaborating, communicating also runs 17 to 20%. It's harder to grab someone if you're not in the office with them. So you have more difficulty accessing resources as an employee. Well, effective tools are key. Zoom is an effective tool. These to-do lists are effective tools, and so on. Distribute contact lists so people know how to get a hold of the people that they need. Make sure that they know that you, their manager, you're a resource to be able to help them if they need a resource to get to somebody for assistance and so forth. So make sure that they know that they can do that and that they have the right tools like Zoom or some product like that to collaborate and communicate. Distractions at home runs 10 to 12%. Give them some guidance and coaching on how to avoid distractions at home. Give them some meeting guides so that we can avoid distractions during our meetings, especially because they're online. I can assure you, I show a dog and a cat here. I've got both. When the mailman comes by, my dog's going to let me know, or when somebody walks in front of our house, my dog is going to let me know always. If I've got an important meeting, I've got to make sure my dog's probably not going to be able to see those people. Cat walking around, getting on your desk, getting in front of your camera, whatever, that could be a distraction. You want to try to avoid those kinds of things. So give people some meeting guidelines on how to avoid distractions. Teach them or coach them on effective work habits so that they get into a schedule and they are able to do things in a methodical way, just like they would do if they were physically at an office. Don't assume they know. So make sure that you guide and coach your employees because they don't necessarily know how to go about these things. It could be the first time they've ever worked remotely, and if you're new to this, you could struggle a bit in terms of being able how to get into a routine or those kinds of things. All right, let's summarize. There are challenges in working remotely. I told you about those, and 4 of them make up 70% of the biggest challenges like we talked about. There are 2 key things you need to manage remote employees effectively. You need a good, solid communications environment so you can have online meetings, and you need a process to manage remote workers. Take action to address the remote work challenges like I talked about in those last few slides. And treat employees as much as you can like they are local, so contact them on a regular basis. Drive the work process by focusing on results. Don't worry about activity so much. Be concerned about results and getting results. That's what really counts. All right, I told you there's a free download. You can download the Managing Remote Employees reference sheet at mde.net/manageremote.pdf. Manage remote is one word. mde.net/manageremote.pdf. A little bit closer look at it. It talks about the challenges, talks about the 2 key needs, communications environment, and a process to manage remote employees. And if you want to watch the video, again, there's a quick link on there to be able to watch the video. All right, thanks for watching my IT Manager Institute channel today. There are 4 segments in my channel: quick tips, IT Manager 101, IT humor, and whiteboard lessons. While you're here, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below so you get regular updates when I upload new videos. If you're looking for more IT Manager resources, take a look at my ITManagerInstitute.com website. There's a lot of resources there to help IT managers. And again, the free download is at mde.net/manageremote.pdf. Thanks again. I hope this information was helpful. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and have a great day and best of success.